Wasabi guys, coming back at you. This time we have a deck tech here, and it's one I did a little while back. It is Azami Lady of Scrolls. The only reason why I'm doing it now is that I've had some changes to it since then, but not a whole lot. So if you already watched that video, this video isn't going to be too much different. So keep that in mind. But the main reason why I'm doing this is because I know I have a lot of new viewers now who don't know the type of decks that I play. And I've made certain, attempts at trying to explain my viewpoints of combo cards and the ban-worthy list, all the controversy there. And this is basically the type of deck that I would bring to a competitive FNM for Commander, of course. And usually the FNMs that I go to are pretty competitive. Usually they put up big prizes or something like a Plane Chase Anthologies, which, I mean, yeah, the set's crap, but again, it's a $15 entry for something that, even though it MSRP's at like 160, still getting value for something that might be half its MSRP. That's still good. So, if you don't already know what Azami does, basically tap and untap wizard you control and you draw a card. She's a 0/2, so not a big deal when she's on the field. She's easy to deal with, but she does cost that 3 blue, so you want to keep it mono blue whenever you talk about Azami. Pretty much, pretty obvious right there. Now we're going to go over to the land base here. Riptide Laboratory. You can pay blue and a generic to tap it, return target wizard you control to its owner's hand. And it's good protection against any type of removal. I said with Azami, it's very important that you keep her on the field because she is the most important part of your deck. And it's basically like a Caracas. Minamo, School at Water's Edge. You pay a blue, tap it, untap, target legendary permanent. So obviously Azami, not too terribly powerful, but anytime you can get an extra card draw, it's always going to be good. Next we have Cavernous Souls. Obviously we play a lot of wizards in this deck. This is wizard tribal, so we want to make them uncounterable if we possibly can. Academy Ruins, not super necessary in this build, but again we might actually run into situations where we have a good mana rock or we have a mana doubler that's in our graveyard and we desperately need it back in order to win. So why not? Nykthos, just good blue mana. Can't go wrong. Teleria West helps us get our mana crypts or a land if we're desperate enough to have to search an actual island or something like that for mana doubling or anything specific. But it's a good land. It's a good tutor up. Palomar Depths comes into play tap, but we get to look at the top 3, put them back in any order. Good enough. Mutavault makes a 2/2. Becomes a 2/2, I should say, with all creature types. So it becomes basically a wizard that we can tap to draw a card. So 1 mana to draw a card, basically. Reliquary Tower, we're drawing a lot of cards. Myriad Landscape technically ramps us up 1. Sometimes that's important, but it does get us islands. And then we play, I believe, 25 basic snow-covered islands because we have a card in here called a Extraplanar Lens. Mana Crypt here for the mana rocks now. 0 mana at the beginning of our upkeep. If we lose it, deals 3 damage to you. You can tap it for 2 mana. Pretty good. Lotus Battle, not a big deal, but honestly, sometimes having that extra colored mana for 0 is definitely what you need to play Azami. So a card like this is very underrated, especially when you talk about the combo decks that definitely want to win as quickly as possible. It's not a Mox Sapphire, but it's definitely going to get the job done in 1 turn. It might as well be. Soul Ring, Mana Vault, just good mana. We have ways of untapping it, which I'll get to later. Sensei Divining Top, good card draw manipulation. And it's already a deck that draws a lot of cards anyway, so still good. Sapphire Medallion, play blue spells. Sky Diamond, we play blue spells. It comes into play tapped, but again, we have ways of untapping our artifacts, and definitely, anything that taps for blue is always a good mana source. Grim Monolith, insane mana ramp early on. That's why we play it. Let me zoom in here. Thought Vessel, no maximum hand size. 2 mana. Ramps us and gets us that. Pretty decent. Extra planar lens. This is why I said we needed snow covers, because it taps for an extra mana, but it has to be the land with the same name. So it's not just the same land type, but it's the same name. So that's why snow covered islands, even though they're basic, it still has to be snow covered to tap for 2, which is why it's in there. It does have the downside of exiling one of the islands, but it's good anyway. Phyrexian Metamorph, it is mainly in here for the ability to copy artifacts. So far, creatures are not that important unless we're copying our own wizards, so definitely in here as an artifact in my opinion. Still a good clone regardless. Thran Dynamo, good mana ramp. Probably my favorite card in the whole deck, and I think it's a lot of people's favorite card now. 5 mana artifact here, just sits on the field. Whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control. Well, not only synergizes with our mana ramp, but it also synergizes with the Zami and a ton of our wizards. And it basically gives the illusion that this is kind of a storm deck going on to the middle of the late game. And you'll be able to combo off, and people are thinking, oh, what are they going to play? Well, you're just drawing a ton of cards until you hit your Laboratory Maniac at the end. So it has the illusion of being kind of like a storm deck, but it's very fun because of that. Gilded Lotus, 5 mana, 5 mana for something that taps for 3 colored mana is still amazing. Especially if you can untap it with Paradox. If you have Gilded Lotus out and you just keep playing wizard after wizard, you're basically going to win the game. Gauntlet of Power, 5 mana doubler, 4 basic lands, but it gives your blue creatures an Anthem there. It gives all blue creatures +1/+1. Cage Sun, this was the actual Anthem for just your creatures, but it does, whenever a land's ability adds 1 or more mana of the chosen color, so this is for any land that taps for blue. Sage of Ipetur. Now we get on the creatures here. 1 mana dude. 1/1 there. When Sage of Ipetur comes into play, look at the top 4 cards of your library and then put them back in any order. It's a 1-drop wizard. Main reason why it's in here, the fact that you look at the top 4 is still good. Martyr of Frost. You could pay 2 mana, reveal X blue cards from your hand, sacrifice Martyr of Frost, counter target spell unless its controller pays X. So you have a counter spell option there. Stony Brook Banneret. Merfolk spells and wizard spells you play cost 1 less to play. Makes our spells cheaper there. Apheto Alchemist. You can tap it. It costs 2 mana there. You can tap it to untap a target artifact or creature. It has the morph, but who really gives a shit? It's a 1/2. Pretty good. Mainly going to be used to untap our artifacts, especially our Grim Monoliths and our Mana Vaults. Pretty good. Jace Vryn's Prodigy, don't really care about the Planeswalker, it's just a 2 mana wizard that can tap to draw us a card early game if we don't have a Zami out. That's the main reason why it's in here. But if you do flip it, it's just good value. You get just cast instant or sorcery from your graveyard. So, we play a lot in here. Snapcaster Mage, another way to get back an instant or sorcery and recast it. It's a wizard too. Flash, why not? Lighthouse Chronologist. Getting extra turns is always going to help you win the game. But it's not always priority number 1. It is a 2 mana wizard at the very least. So, pretty busted, but, if you happen to get him, and if you start leveling up, it's always going to be fun. So, Baral, Chief of Compliance here, 2 mana, 1/3. Instants and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you can draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Just great value. He's playing Storm and Modern. He's just a fun card. Phantasmal Image, 2 mana clone. It dies if it gets targeted by anything, so still good value though. Combos with Palinchron. Laboratory Maniac, 3 mana, play it at the end of your combos and shit and you win the game. Graceful Adept, you have no maximum hand size, 3 mana wizard. Why not? We're going to draw a ton of cards. Trinket Mage searches up Mana Crypt or anything else we need if we already have Mana Crypt, but it's mainly going to search up Mana Crypt. Airtie Wizard Adept, counterspell on a stick, and he counts as a wizard, so why not? It's far from the worst card in the deck. Sigil Tracer, pay 2, tap 2 untap wizards you control, copy target instant or sorcery. and you can choose new targets for the copy. So you get good value there. Anytime you can like copy something, it does go infinite with dramatic reversal, and if you have other wizards and a gilded lotus, yeah. Patron wizard, 3 mana, 3 blue, and you can tap and untap wizard you control to counter target spell unless this controller pays 1. Very awesome to get early game and just start countering a ton of shit, man. You can just depress so many people. Archaeomancer, 4 mana, you get an instant or sorcery back from your graveyard, ETBs. Venser, Shaper Savant, 4 mana, flash, return target spell or permanent to its owner's hands when it ETBs. So it is very good. Like it gets around shit that can't be countered because it just returns it to their hand. It doesn't counter it. So keep that in mind. It's just good utility in that case. So it does technically count as a counter spell too. Glenalendra, Archmage. You know, the whole counters and persist, and yeah, we don't have a way to abuse it and get it back, unfortunately, but it's still good to have that on a stick and counter a non-creature spell, especially when you're going up against other control decks. Pretty good. Clever Impersonator, 4 mana clone, can copy planeswalkers, or just like any non-land permanent, so, I mean, why not? Docent of Perfection, 5 mana, flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 blue human wizard creature token onto the battlefield. Then if you control 3 or more wizards, transform it. So the whole control 3 or more wizards thing is pretty easy in this deck, and I'll show you what he transforms into. Transforms into Final Iteration. Flying, wizards you control get +2/+1 and have flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 blue human creature token on the battlefield. So he basically becomes a 6/5 flyer, and wizards you control get +2/+1 and have flying. So pretty good card for this type of tribe. Teferi, Mage of Zhalfir. Basically good against other control decks, other decks that are trying to interrupt what we're doing at instant speed. So they can't play spells on instant speed, they have to play them at their own turn. And creatures you control get flash. He has flash himself, so you know, it's good timing. Magus of the Future. Definitely good to predict what you're going to get next. And the ability to play the top card of your library. It helps you accelerate so quickly, and it's just very good in a deck like this. Basically helps you get another card as your maximum hand size, so 8 instead of 7. Arcanus the Omnipotent, 6 mana total. Taps to draw 3 cards, 4 mana return them to your owner's hand. So it's pretty good. Palinchron, combo card. I know I've said like I hate combo cards like this that take no effort, but this is a competitive build that I can win shit at FNMs with. You know, I don't play this for fun. I play this for actually compete. If I wanted to play it for fun, I'd obviously take out Palinchron, but he's in here. Pact Negation, 0 mana counterspell, protects our combos and protects us if we're tapped out. Mystical Tutor, tutors up, counterspells, other instants, dramatic reversal if we absolutely want it. High Tide, islands tap for double blue. Brainstorm, good cantrip. You know, can't really go wrong with cantrips. At instant speed, dramatic reversal, 2 mana untapped, all non-land permanents you control. Awesome to stack your triggers with Paradox Engine, because you know you get to tap all your wizards again to draw even more cards. So in a way, it is basically like another cantrip in this type of deck that can draw you a shit ton of cards. Reality Shift, 2 mana, exiles a creature, replaces it with a 2/2 manifested creature. So either way, you're getting rid of something that deserves to be exiled for 2 blue or just 2 mana. It's awesome. Cyclonic Rift, you know, one of the best removal spells in the whole game. Definitely good if we want to combo out. Counterspell. Arcane Denial, just a 2 mana counterspell. A little bit more flexible in the mana cost, but anytime you can get more card draw during your upkeep, it's good. Even though you're giving it to them as well, but you know, still. Mana Drain helps us go off the next turn after we counter something big, and it's usually going to win us the game if we do. It's just that type of card. Frantic Search, 3 mana, cantrip, untaps land, so it's basically free to draw 2 cards and discard 2. But if we have mana doublers, obviously we're going to, net some mana out of the deal there. Long-term plans in this type of deck, it's an awesome card. Just put something that you absolutely want third from the top, and I guarantee you're most likely going to be able to draw into it. Forbid, we have the ability to draw a shit ton of cards, and our hand size is most likely going to be enormous, so just the buyback is pretty easy. Discarding 2 cards, just a counter spell, bring it back, pay 3 more mana, counter another target spell. That's amazing. Capsize, if we happen to have infinite mana with Palomar, basically wins us the game. It's just a great removal spell in general. Can't go wrong there. Pretty underrated too. Turnabout, untap all our wizards, maybe. Rewind, 4 mana counterspell, untaps up to 4 lands. We have the potential of just holding on to multiple different counterspells, and rewind definitely is usually the first one we play, because then we get to untap our lands and then play more counterspells or more instant speed cards. Definitely a good card. And then we have Cryptic Command for versatility. We definitely have permanents we want to return to their hand, or we can tap all creatures our opponent's control or draw a card, not just countering a spell, but definitely good value there. Force of Will, not too many problems in this format that warrant it like early on in the game, but it's usually just good nevertheless to have a 0 mana counterspell. Preordain, 1 mana cantrip, can't go wrong. Ponder, 1 mana cantrip, you can't go wrong. Merchant Scroll, searches up a blue instant, pretty good. We're going to most likely get Dramatic Reversal with it and try to go off on our turn. It's a very good card, I love it. It's basically Demonic Tutor for blue instant. Fabricate, basically tutors up an artifact, and it's usually going to be Paradox Engine or any artifact that we need to really go off. Maybe it's a Gilded Lotus, who knows. But anytime you can tutor up, it's good precision. Time Warp, taking extra turns is always going to help you win the game, so why not? Hey, Time Stretch, ×2 on the Time Warp. Why the fuck not? Ristic Study, 3 mana, just sits on the field, pisses off people, nets you a whole bunch of card draw. We're already playing a deck with a ton of card draw, so some people might think it's overkill, but anytime you can draw cards is good. Intruder Alarm, whenever creature enters the battlefield, untaps all creatures, and creatures do not untap during their controller's untap phases. Very good. Definitely a card that we can combo with and just keep going. Definitely kind of like a cantrip deck here, if you know what I'm trying to go with. Of course, we have Mind Over Matter, the one card that you play and you basically win with. Definitely deserves to be banned, along with Palomar. Some people don't understand this and they're going to call me a hypocrite. Well, why are you playing cards like this? Well, it's competitive and it helps me win the game. That's why I'm playing it. It's optimal too, but in a casual setting like 4-player Commander, I'm not going to consider it. Just because it just ruins so many games for so many people, and it's boring. So anyway guys, hope you enjoyed that deck tech. I know I already did this, but thanks for being a good sport and watching it again. Definitely think this is a good option for Wizards to reprint Wizard Tribal and reprint a lot of these good cards in this deck, as well as just create new ideas for off-color Wizards. There's not a lot of off-color Wizard support, but there are a ton of multicolored Wizards out there. So it's definitely an option for them. So anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it if you think other people are going to enjoy this deck list too. So anyway guys, signing off, Void Mage Gamer. You guys have a wonderful day.